Chapter 89. Strange Dreams. The feelings I sent totaled 16 feelings. The first feeling was a feeling of horror, a feeling of an impending moment of eruption, the final moment of a great catastrophe, the moment of great decay about to occur, the feeling of watching pain. This feeling caused King Pasenadi of Kosala to dream that in the courtyard in front of his palace there were 4 large, dark, roaring bulls, each poised to charge at each other from all 4 directions. People came to watch the collision of the 4 bulls, but they never collided. "What did you want to communicate?" I asked. I wanted him to know the situation that would occur in the future. 2,500 years from then, which is your present time. As I told you, it is the most crucial transition of the universe. It is the time of an impending great catastrophe. The 4 enraged bulls represent the all-round ignorance of the human world, not knowing who they are, where they come from, why they come, and how to return to where they came from. It represents all-round decay in society, environment, health, and morality. It represents the image of disasters that will occur from all directions. On land, there will be subsidence, movement, and uplift. In the oceans, there will be rising sea levels, tsunamis, erosion, and collapse. In the air, there will be cyclones, dust storms, extreme heat waves, and extreme cold. And the most severe aspect is the danger from underground, the apocalyptic fire that is ready to melt everything, no matter how strong the material it is made of. It will turn it into ash, into its original elements, in an instant. And finally, the 4 enraged bulls represent the all-round intellectual blindness that affects humans themselves. Issues of toxins, chemicals, technological waste, pollution that will come back to harm themselves, issues of conflicts arising from degraded minds, wars, conquest, and the killing of their own kind, issues of greed, exploitation, extreme inequality causing widespread hardship, issues of mental decline and decay, devoid of happiness, filled with pressure and anxiety, turning into diseases that gnaw at both body and soul. The fact that the 4 bulls haven't collided means this situation is waiting for something, waiting for someone to judge what will happen from now on. What about the remaining feelings? What are they? I continued to ask. All the remaining images are an expansion of the first image, which is a feeling that indicates the perversity and abnormality of the future world in various aspects. These include the image of a horse with 2 mouths, the image of a tree only a span high but full of flowers and fruits, the image of a cart owner trying to yoke young bulls, but they refuse to pull, the image of a large cow suckling from the udder of a young calf, the image of a man sitting and weaving a rope from vines on a table, but under the table a fox is gnawing at the rope, the image of a rich man using a golden tray to catch the excrement and urine of a wolf, the image of a large pond with a herd of animals drinking water, but instead of the water being muddy where the animals drink, it is clear, while the middle of the pond, which should be clear, is muddy. The image of a crowd of people pouring water into a full jar again and again until it overflows, but not pouring water into an empty jar. The image of a flock of sheep attacking and devouring the flesh of a tiger. The image of a swarm of frogs hunting and devouring the flesh of a cobra. The image of golden swans digging for food on the ground, with a crow perched on a branch above those golden swans. The image of a dry gourd sinking in water, the image of a large rock floating on water, the image of people exchanging expensive sandalwood for rotten vines, and the image of a pot of rice that is both raw, mushy, and perfectly cooked. Could King Pasenadi interpret the meaning you sent? I asked. No, Lord Foch replied. Oh, ... If he couldn't, what's the point? I asked. Normally, when the king has strange dreams, especially dreams that cause discomfort, he will call the royal astrologers, who are Brahmins skilled in astrology, to interpret the meaning. And could those Brahmins interpret it? I asked. No, because those Brahmins don't understand the language of the soul or the language of feeling. Besides not understanding, they also use a conscious mind filled with selfishness and favoritism, focused on gain, fame, and praise. There's no way those Brahmins could explain the meaning. In addition to misinterpreting, they also create fear and anxiety, so that they will continue to rely on their rituals. They told King Pasenadi that the dream was an ominous sign for him, and at that time the country had just suffered from the epidemic and drought, which further alarmed him. They advised him to perform a grand offering to the gods to turn the bad luck into good fortune, by performing a sacrifice using a large number of birds, four-legged land animals, aquatic animals, and amphibians. Then chaos ensued because they had to search for those animals during a time of famine. Livestock such as ducks, chickens, cattle, and buffalo were scarce. If they wanted to find them, they had to go outside the city, to buy them from villagers in remote areas or order them from other cities that had not been affected. But of course, at that time, there were hardly any cities that had not been affected. So, he urgently called a meeting of all the ministers. While they were meeting to discuss solutions, Queen Malika, who could perceive her husband's feelings, came to ask King Pasenadi with concern about what happened and why he looked so stressed, and why there was such chaos outside the palace. King Pasenadi told her everything. When Queen Malika heard this, she questioned her husband why he didn't consult the Buddha, who was greater than any high Brahmin. Upon hearing this, he immediately traveled to see the Buddha. That time, he had to go to a new temple built and offered by Lady Viz. This temple was located east of Savathi. This temple was named Bupfaram Temple because it was full of various flowers, especially orchids, which was the idea of the donor. Lord, I have a question. Where is Bupfaram Temple today? I interjected. This place is located about 10 kilometers southeast of Savathi, or the area that is Frey province today. There is a small hill before reaching a large mountain range. At that time, this area was still remote, like the edge of a forest, inhabited by various animals. To travel there, one had to go through villagers' rice fields, without a proper road, but upon arrival, one would find a beautiful and vibrant environment like heaven. The approach to the hill and the temple area were adorned with various flowering plants, both perennial and annual, especially orchids. Originally, the local language called orchids heen, when villagers referred to this temple. They wouldn't use its official name because the word Bupfa is formal. They would name it based on what they saw or experienced. So, villagers called this temple Wat Chohin, which means the temple with many orchid sprays. About 600 years later, the word heen became slang with a negative connotation, like a woman who is promiscuous. So, the pronunciation was slightly changed to Chohei. But But Faram temple is Wat Pra that Chohei, I exclaimed. Yes. In his later life, the Buddha often resided at this temple more than at Jetavana temple, because it was on a high ground with beautiful scenery. When he was there, he could see the city of Savathi from a distance. Lord, I'm starting to wonder how the Buddha would interpret King Pasenadi's dream. For example, the image of the horse with two mouths. I can't imagine what it means, I asked.